We have the port of Dar es Salaam that we are competing with. We have other major ports that we are competing with. And as much as it is our intent to ensure that countries that are in the hinterland benefit from the port of Mombasa, they cannot be able to do so unless key stakeholders are going to be involved in a majority of these issues that are currently being done. And one of them, there is a concern to us, and KIFWA is presenting to us a memorandum, and that memorandum will be presented to the National Assembly, which will include amendments to various acts of the of law. And the other thing is it will also, given the powers conferred on us by the Constitution of this country, we will summon the KRA Commissioner General to answer. We will summon the MD of Kenya Bureau of Standards to answer. We will summon the MD of KPA to answer to all these things, because they cannot just, someone sitting behind a desk make decisions that are going to affect livelihood of people. And this is not just people, there are thousands and thousands of people that are involved in this particular matters. Issues to do with valuation, where Kenya has signed a charter with the rest of the world, and then when we do not do things as per world standards, then definitely the cost of doing business becomes very expensive. There's cargo lying at the port of Mombasa for more than a month because KRA has decided to undergo some form of valuation standards, and they do not wish to take responsibility for the damage for that. This causes a lot of clogging at the port of Mombasa. Cost of doing business is eventually rising up, and who is the person that ends up paying the burden? It is the Kenyan consumer. In the process of all these companies trying to cut down on their costs, what is the first thing that they're going to end up doing? Remove people from their workload. We are currently struggling at one of the highest rates of unemployment in this country, and we need people to be employed. We do not need people to end up being left out. A lot of CFSs have ended up firing their people because of the cost of doing business has become very expensive. And what we are also seeing right now is that because of vessels being delayed at the port of Mombasa, the cost of shipment, freight charges to come to Mombasa is going to end up being more expensive than freight charges going to other parts which are competing with us, including the Dar es Salaam as well. And in the process of all this as well, in the process of all this confusion and desperation, corruption will end up being rampant. So we are saying that the process of valuation is not being done right. There was the element of the 24-hour economy, that the port of Mombasa should be operating on a 24-hour basis. When an institution like the port of Mombasa starts operating on a 24-hour basis, then that means other players in the industry will operate on a 24-hour basis, and that means that other corresponding institutions as well will have to do so. Till today, the port of Mombasa is not operating on a 24-hour basis, and despite the fact that this is going to be able to help this country, we need that port to move, and to move on a 24-hour basis. And this, by the way, was a presidential declaration. One of the declarations that the president had declared was that, and then the other one was the fact that the Commissioner General, there was a report that he should be based in Mombasa. When you have between 75 to 80% of customs revenue being collected in Mombasa, then you tend to wonder why that person is, the person who is collecting that taxes, why is he based in Nairobi? Your business is here, your core clientele are here, because at the end of the day, the clearing agents are the major clientele. They collect on behalf of the government of Kenya. And as major clientele, your clientele is based in Mombasa. Why are you based in Nairobi? And then you put in a regional manager in charge of the southern region who has no powers to make any decisions whatsoever. So every little thing that is done has to go back again to Nairobi. So we are saying that what is happening? Why can't the Commissioner General be based in Mombasa? Is Mombasa so bad of a place that this Commissioner General can only be able to see it fit just to collect money and not necessarily be based in Mombasa itself? Then there is the issue of the port. The port CEO was meant to be the person, the key point in terms of all these issues. I mean, any decision being made by Kenya Bureau of Standards, any decision being made by any agency that will affect movement of the port should have been done. The pinpoint person should be the CEO of the port, and that is not happening. So you get KRA making a decision. That decision, of course, ultimately affects the operations at the port. You get Kenya Bureau of Standards making a decision. That decision affects the port of Mombasa. KMA makes a decision. That decision affects the port of Mombasa. Every other institution makes a decision that affects the port of Mombasa, and the CEO of the port of Mombasa is only seated there and they cannot do anything. Demurrage charges end up being more, and this becomes a problem. If you recall, about 3 years ago, the president witnessed signing of a charter, and I recall very, very clearly the president saying that those people will be held liable. And there were 14 institutions that were part and parcel of that charter. One of the things that was included was the element of pre-clearance. If you recall, they said that there will be the element of pre-clearance. That has never taken effect till today. Then there was the issue of the port reviewing its target after every amount of time. That has never happened till today as well. So we ask ourselves, was that a public gimmick that was happening at that moment? Was this just meant to be there? You know, everyone got there and we were in a tent and everything was done. Nothing happened. Nothing happened till today. So we do not want things to be more of showbiz. We want things to move. And by things moving, that means the economy of Mombasa is going to be able to move. By the economy of Mombasa being able to move, our people are going to get employment. People are going to be able to turn wealth round. But issues of just gimmicks and things being done, like I earlier said, when Kenya Bureau of Standards make decision. Now, this is a part that I don't understand. When you have to pay $300 for every item that is currently being imported, you pay $300. And then you pay 2%, which is inspection fees. This money does not come to the Kenyan government. It does not get retained here. This money goes to the country of source. Now, the funny part is we are here saying that we want our people to get employed. Why don't we facilitate and actually enhance that inspection should be done on a local level? If inspection gets done on a local level, then that means automatically that our people are the ones who are going to inspect those goods. And when our people inspect those goods, that means jobs are going to be created. Now, what they have done is made it opposite. They have now said that 15% of the CIF value if you inspect the goods on a local level. Whereas you pay $300 or 2% if you inspected the source of origin. So it does not make much economic sense unless, of course, Kenyans are simply working and sweating for other countries to be able to benefit, which I do not think works. I mean, I would have, it would have sounded better by saying that pay 5% on a local basis, but then I know that that money goes to people who are going to be here. Then there's this issue of you know, when you partner with a country, the element of partnering with a country is so that your people can be able to benefit. Now, it is unfortunate. You know, when you see a Chinese starting to clear cargo, know that this country is going to the dogs. If a Chinese can start clearing cargo, what is going to happen to our boys and girls here? I mean, you know, it does not augur well. It does not make economic sense. The pact that was signed, first of all, the issue of the SGR, the pact that was signed was that up to 60% of the business was meant to be given to locals. That has not even happened. There is no issue so far to say that, you know, we are asking for compensation from these Chinese companies because our people did not gain by getting business. Now, on top of it as well, we are now going to add up even more insult and salt to the wound. We're now even giving clearing licenses to Chinese. Where are our people going to go? And this is actually nothing short of economic sabotage. There is the other pact that was signed. By the way, this is not something that was even approved by Parliament. And as Parliament, we will be wishing to look into this. When you put in Ugandan official here, locally, and then the person decides to collect revenue here, and Ugandans are the ones doing everything here, what is our benefit of having a port? What is our benefit of having a port? When our people cannot be able to be the ones to transport those goods. If you go to Dar es Salaam, you cannot be able to touch cargo if you're not Tanzanian. Why should we as Kenyans be so lenient? Are we so overly employed? Are we that desperate that, you know, any single person wishing to be able to come and touch cargo here is just given that leeway to do so? So it does not make much sense. And then there's lastly, there's the issue of the terminal handling charges. Our recommendation, because this terminal handling charges is also double taxed. There's the taxation that is the shipping agent wants that money. KPA demands that money. And at times as well, CFS they demand that money. So taxes are paid 3 times, the terminal handling charges. This cost goes directly to the consumer. And at $80, so if you're paying $80 more than once, you pay twice, you pay 3 times. And when you're looking at millions of containers passing, that is millions of dollars that are basically passed on to the end user and to the consumer. And we want that money to be able to be useful for the people of Mombasa. And, you know, we are saying that it is better for us to know that if the port of Mombasa is based in Mombasa, then we need this economy to be able to grow. We cannot, this is nothing short of economic sabotage. By crunching everything up, making sure that it can be able to be done in other parts of this country, but not here. Doing business in Mombasa is being made to become so expensive. Doing business in Mombasa is being, whether by design or by default, being made to become something that is actually a nightmare. And people have lost jobs. It's not an issue that they are starting to lose jobs. People have lost jobs. One of the recommendations that we would wish to see is the same way medical bodies have representatives from the medical fraternity, then it is only fair that KRA board should have, you know, some of these boards are constituted and they're basically political favors being paid back. So you have a board, someone who has retired somewhere and anaambiwa weka hapo. You have a board, someone has retired and he's old enough to be a grandfather to people, and they're told you just sit there. So these boards are just constituted not for any other value, but just for the purposes of them being there. And what we now need to see is representation of industry players in the respective boards. I mean, KIFWA should be represented in the KRA board, they should be represented in the KPA board, they should be represented in the KMA board, they should be represented in the Kenya Bureau of Standard board, they should be represented in the Insurance Regulatory Authority board as well. And I think this is going to make things a bit easier for all. Thank you.